Well, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. I am your host. Now, understand, we have long since abandoned majority of your social media platforms. So, for those of you that are in day three of your blackout, welcome to the circus. That is trying to navigate the truth without watching mainstream media, without doom scrolling on Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter, Amazon. None of it. No, I'm not on any of it. I'm here with you. And what we try to do is keep our eye on the prize. For example, a really good example of the prize are the Epstein files right now. So, um, for those of you wondering, like, the direction of my content, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to say daily affirmations until the Epstein files are released. It's important to point out, beyond a shadow of a doubt, thanks to actually the Lincoln Project. For this morning's initial link that I'll share with you, shout out to Dakota. One of my oldest friends here, dropping this little gem from the Lincoln Project. It's a TikTok link. If you don't use TikTok, that's cool. I understand that. Okay. Uh, yeah, it's important to keep your eye on the prize, kind of regardless of what comes down the pipe. Because here's what I can tell you. Uh, you have to perceive content, understanding that Donald Trump's a fourth grader that is literally addicted. He is the opposite of us. He is hopelessly addicted to clicks and social media. Okay? And he's also got Vladimir Putin telling him what to do. And he also has like a major drug problem and he can't hold his piss for shit. So as you can tell, he's juggling and he's awful at it. Okay? The Lincoln Project's going for the jugular. They put out what I would call a hit piece on Pam Bondi and Carolyn Levitt and Cash Patel. They just, if Donald Trump has to sit through that whole video, those people don't make it the week. If I mean, you got to understand Donald Trump's like chaos is the order, right? So he just got like 48 people confirmed at once, and then he's gonna, yeah, heart failure, dead hand, yeah, absolutely. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, um, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, used his own wives. Wives. More than one woman he was married to, he used. I am asserting that he used his kids. Okay? I'm asserting that he used his kids to make the girls that his wives and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein brought around Donald Trump. I'm willing to bet they used their kids as bait so that it like made sense. Oh, we have two boys. Why don't you bring the girls over? We'll have us a. That's how it kind of like makes sense, right? Because it's not like all these women were runaways, right? Or they were kidnapped out of their homes. No, like there had to be like a line of logic that got Donald Trump proximity. Now, A lot of people point to the beauty pageant shit. Yes, there's that too, which makes it even crazier because of his proximity to underage girls. And that is readily apparent to me that the only way a parent, and I'm trying to be logical in a world that doesn't make sense, so forgive me if I sound dumb. But before I let my underage daughter go spend some time with the Trumps, I'm willing to bet the Trumps use their kids as like, oh, the kids will be there. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. They can go. I guess that's cool. Because otherwise, it doesn't. How do they? Other than the owning of beauty pageant, how would you let your kids go around Donald Trump, right? If there's a single cry for help, how did that happen for years? Um, and the more that gets unraveled of this onion, the more you realize that Jeffrey Epstein protected Donald Trump and went to the lengths of going overseas and dealing with unsavory people. Uh, to be completely honest with you, Jeffrey Epstein was one of the more powerful people on the planet, and I'm not surprised that there's some fuck shit. You know what I mean? When it comes to the way he went down, um, Jeffrey Epstein was actually the powerful individual, and I understand why Donald Trump had him killed. 100%. I get it now because I actually think it was Jeffrey Epstein that was. Have you Lords of War? Has anybody seen that movie? I think Jeffrey Epstein's the arms dealer, Nicolas Cage in Lords of War. Uh, think you're welcome for the fucking film reference. And again, I'm being a loose cannon with it. Uh, what needs to be at the forefront of your minds is again, it's like understanding why the bully is acting the way they're acting. Okay, so Donald Trump is acting the way he's acting. Okay, every act is an escalation upon the prior, because that's what he's been told to do. He's being given instruction. And I've said from moment one, the person giving him the instruction, English ain't their first fucking language. It's Vladimir Putin. And that's why shit is all fucked up. So if you ever wondered why shit doesn't make sense, why he'll say an executive order, and you're like, but that's not legal, Don. Well, that's because it came from someone that English ain't their first fucking language, and I'm willing to bet U.S. constitutional law isn't their second language. So if you ever wondered why there's no bills and laws being passed that mirror these executive orders, consider that they're nonsense and fucking illegal. And again, I just want to continue to point out that the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and Donald Trump's wives, and I'm willing to bet his kids, were all involved in an international organized crime ring, for the better part of 20 years. Full stop. And you know what I think about? Donald Trump's kids ain't saying much. They're taking a cue from the Democrats who aren't saying shit still about the 2024 U.S. election. And I want to continue to point out that we sat and we looked at the law, and what did we come away with? You know, it would be disadvantageous. It would be disadvantageous for the Democrats to yell out about the results of the 2024 U.S. election. It would cost money, and it would complicate the legal process because any comments made could be used against you in a court of law effectively. So again, I want to continue to point out why the Democrats haven't said shit. There are way too many people that are like on board. Yeah, Donald Trump's certainly not the fucking brains of the operation. He's a fish out of water. without super intelligent people around him, and he isn't surrounded by super intelligent people. Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance are not him. You know what I mean? 1 inch. We all know Trump's not the brains of the operation. No, 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 no. And a lot of his decisions are brainless. When you can kind of tell when Donald Trump's got the ideals because it ain't. Okay. The White House Peace Vigil, which has stood for decades, is dismantled. Nothing. We were just making sure that we talked about what it is up front, about how we take our leads, right? Where we get our direction from. Fortunately, we were out ahead of what I call them, the Lincoln Project. We were out ahead of the Lincoln Project. We've been saying daily affirmations until the Epstein files are released. At least I have, for like the last 3 weeks. So we've known what the tip was. We were the pace setter. Okay. So the fact that they're coming around to saying the same is gives us more gas. Like we knew what we were doing is correct, and now people are realizing like all of this is just to cover up the Epstein files. And to what lengths will he go? All the way to war. Hmm. We're on the verge. It even gives me a headache thinking about how many um, potential zones of conflict that we have. Um, it's Yeah, and when I say daily affirmations, these are the things you repeat to help you stay sane. Hey, the President of the United States used his wives, he used his kids, he worked with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and they ran an international organized crime ring for the better part of 20 years. And Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell have been punished for all that shit. So there's no saying it didn't happen. Dude, two of them went to prison. One of them died, and the other one, look what they had to do to avoid going to fucking prison. You know what I'm saying? To avoid probably the I don't know what. Let me ask: is there anyone in here that works in law? Is there at any point that you could be considered like a serial rapist and it be worthy of the death penalty or castration? Does anybody know if there's like law that supports that? Because that's what I feel like he's running from, right? If you really want to talk about like Donald Trump's behavior, it's like he's running from castration, like forced castration. Which, by the way, I think that's what they should do to rapists. That's just me. Um, mhm. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I don't think you should ever be allowed to have children if you commit rape. Yeah. Hmm. I'm old school. That was a long time ago, kids. Hmm. They used to red a hook. You know what I'm saying? They take like a big hook that has like a handle. You hold it in your hands, and the metal comes out between your fingers, and it'd be like a big metal hook, and you would hold it over the fire till it was red, and then you'd take the hook and you'd hook into their belly button and pull. Yeah, that used to be the punishment for rape. So, hmm, you didn't know that? How many of them you going to watch for you every woman you look at with the utmost respect? Uh-huh. All kind of fuck shit. To quote one of my favorite social media follows, the man Darian. If it makes sense to anyone else, when people have like a colorful version of the English language, I pick up on it. And the Mandarin, I want to say he's from Atlanta, so he just has a different way of speaking, and I can get it, I understand it. He's the one that calls Donald Trump the man with the dead hand, and he says that to beat the algorithm, but it does kind of point to the issue. You know what I mean? Like, he has no morals. Yeah, yeah. And when I say Donald Trump used his own children, I'm not saying that like inflammatorily and with absolutely no ability to provide evidence. What? I'm thinking about how the fuck, other than Donald Trump is rich and owned a beauty pageant, under what other fucking circumstances, after the first time Donald Trump ever had a problem with somebody, would you let your fucking kids go around them people? And the only way I could think about that is he used his kids as bait. Like, I would, if I didn't know better, and my parents are dumb as fuck. Your parents were dumb as fuck. If there were other kids there, it was the entire reason you were allowed to go. That's what I'm saying. Like, one of the things my parents did is they said, "Are there going to be parents there?" Yeah. Okay, okay. Are there going to be kids there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can go. That was the whole line of questioning. Like, are there going to be people that can hold other people accountable there? Yeah. So when I say it, I'm not saying it as somebody like spreading a rumor about someone. I'm saying it as someone that's like, that's the only way that this was able to continue is because, yeah, he's sexual. Yeah. And that what I was trying to avoid that because I think people will argue about the sexualization of his daughter, that that's just how it was back then. I want to continue to point out, no the fuck it wasn't. It never fucking was. What he was doing is fucking weird, but people will argue that, oh, the hypersexualization of his child was normal for that time period. Uh don't give a fuck. Just throwing that out there. He sexualized the fuck out of his own kids. He certainly used them as bait too. And if that is hard to stomach, if it's hard to stomach that he used his children as bait, consider the hypersexualization of his own kids. Consider how publicly he talked about want to fuck his own child. Right? If she wasn't mine, we'd be dating. Did he not say that? He absolutely said it, and it's on camera. Oh, okay. So then, why would a parent let their kid come around them for the better part of 20 years? Under what circumstances? So and so is going to be there. So, who's so and so? Donald Trump's fucking kids. And as I've said before, Donald Trump and Eric Trump are unfuckable, bro. So, what happened? The kids got connected, and them girls were like, nope, nope. Didn't want nothing to do with them. And get real uncomfortable. And here comes Donald Trump swooping in to big bro you to death, and ultimately trying to get a little heady and make it happen. That's Donald J. Trump. Like, you want to talk about shit popping off? That's exactly how Donald Trump did, was swoop in, because right about the time them little girls realize that his kids are fucking, they're unattractive and weird. I don't want to be here anymore. It's uncomfortable. Donald Trump swoops the fuck in. I was in Home Alone. We live in a hotel. Because I think about how close was I to someone like him. That's what I think about. A serial, um, like a child molester, effectively, pet, pedo, child molester, rapist, like child rapist, whatever the fuck you want to call Donald Trump, right? Um, I had a Boy Scout leader, teacher, member of my church. Uh, he only ever put his hands on my shoulders and shook my hand. So keep this in mind. Uh, but he was asked to resign, kicked out of Boy Scouts, stopped going to our church. He died, obviously, when you're cut off from fucking society, because a decade plus of women came out and was like he was fucking inappropriate with me, and so I can't even. And what's fucked is I can't even remember the guy's name. I mean, he's dead. But they were like ingrained in my town. Him and his wife. Um, and again, this isn't me trying to make myself a victim to make it relevant. No, no, no. That's not even what I'm saying. He was only ever respect, like shake hands, rub my shoulders type shit. But even I had to at some point be like, hey, I think you're too touchy with me. I Mr. Emerson, that was his name, Mr. Emerson. Um, and that's full stop. That's the closest I've ever been to somebody like Donald Trump. He didn't think what he was doing was wrong, and in fact, he thought your reaction to it was so absurd that it drove him. He was so convinced that like I'm a teacher, I'm a Boy Scout leader, I'm a church goer, I'm 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 being loving to these kids, and it turns out like a whole fucking decade of girls did not fucking feel that way. And I try to think about how the fuck did that happen? How is he able to be around these girls and be inappropriate and kind of get away with it forever? Oh, because he volunteered to be a chaperone on like every fucking school trip, every choir trip, every Boy Scout trip, every youth group trip. Mr. Emerson was there as a chaperone. They would hold house parties in the Hamptons, and we stayed clear of them when we would hit the beach out that way. Yeah, it's just, and you got to understand that behavior never was normalized. It was just hidden from the public eye because Donald Trump was heavily invested in the media, and he's buddies with all these CEOs, these media corporations. So he was able to fuck up the story. So you can never have really good coverage of the shit Donald Trump's pulled off. I mean, it got him all the way here. But I think the screws are tightening. And I think the entire reason that he ran for public office again was to keep the Epstein files from coming out and from him from facing punishment in terms of what happened to Jeffrey Epstein while he was in prison. I think that that's the more the farther we get into this, it's like okay, well the tariffs are illegal, the firings are largely illegal, like which we kind of knew. So like, oh, these people get to keep their jobs, and in some cases they might get raises, and it's just like, so it's all for show. It's all for stuff in their pockets, and you're just like, hey, that has consequences. Okay, it may not feel like it. There's gonna be and shit like that, but there's enriching yourself in office has consequences. No, yeah. So what the reason I brought up the Mandarian and shit is to say, hey, so everything that comes out is just gonna be crazy, right? Donald Trump sued the New York Times and for $15 billion for defamation, right? A judge tossed the suit, Again, that's just a distraction from what's really happening. And a lot of people are like, Jared, why'd you get away from social media? You have a degree in it. You've been on it forever. Zeke said, so I want to take the time to say thank you, Jay. Guys like you and Kyle Kalinske understand how troublesome things are going to be for everyone, especially immigrants, LGBTQ, black community, and other marginalized communities. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In a live the other day, and a young Republican's tone was just completely out of touch. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but right around COVID hit, I started running a state farm agency that had been in management mode for a while. The guy had like 1,300 clients. He was making 10 plus $1,000 a month after taxes. He was living the high on a hog, and they weren't even a sales org. Okay, but he was starting to attrition, so he's starting to lose people. They were going to a closer agent. They were obviously switching carriers, but he brought me in to help sell his product, right? To push State Farm stuff. And his wife was non-white. She's mixed, so he had a non mixed child. He had a mixed child, and his only other employee was a woman, and he was completely tone deaf. Had absolute. It was like he didn't understand. He was a. You're the party to a mixed household. How dare you be racist? I had to hire and fire kids. We wanted to reach out to like the local schools. If anybody's looking for a job, you want to get an insurance. It's a really good industry. State Farm's a really good company. We're looking for telemarketers. We'll pay you $10 an hour to dial out. It's not hard. And one of the kids that I hired, okay, uh, COVID is happening. The mismanagement of COVID's happening. People are dying. You're having to wear a mask at work. I'm working from home most of the time. I didn't even fucking go in. Okay. I'd hired these kids. They were work. I mean, imagine COVID and you're working your first job, right? Um, they sat in separate rooms to work. Didn't have a problem with their work ethic. This isn't one of those. But in all of the first like 9 months of COVID, through the mismanagement of COVID, 18-year-old kid says, I think I'm going to be a Republican. And I said, why? And he said, it seems to me Republicans do whatever the fuck they want to do. There's nothing Democrats can do about it except bitch. No understanding of government at all. Not very wet behind the ears. You know what I'm saying? Very young. It seems like the Republicans do whatever the fuck they want, and all the Democrats do is bitch. Now, expand that out a little bit. What is the Democratic platform? We've talked about that at length. We know more of the same. Maintain the status quo, right? But yeah, the owner, my agency owner, was sexist, and the majority of people in his life were women. He was racist, and his fucking wife is mixed, and he has mixed children. The fuck? And his yeah. So one of the major reasons that I left, like Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, all that stuff, uh, the Meta tools, is because of their quick incorporation of AI, their involvement in Israel, and their content moderation. So now that they're using underage girls in ads to target men on Meta, will you stop using Facebook, please? Stop using Threads and IG and WhatsApp and Messenger. Hey, the lights are blinking. Hey, they're using underage girls in ads on Meta tools to target men. Is this what you want out of your social media experience? There's a reason I noped the fuck out of that. Yeah. Yep. They are trying to normalize a future in which they can do whatever they want and there are no consequences. And I just want to continue to remind you, just like Eric Slawwell said, who I've become kind of a fan of, uh, Eric Slawwell said the Democrats will have a majority in a year. Take notes, gather evidence, take video. Statute of limitation is years on regular, non-violent crime. And there will be accountability. hmm you can count on it. And for the record, one of the things that I expected is if we're going to head towards martial law, we're going to see a lack of accountability. And I want to still point out that these other government agencies, your FBI, CIAs, NSAs, they still have a job to do and they're still busting motherfuckers. So, like, all the time, this child porn ring gets busted. This fucking church guy did some horrible essay shit. That still is happening. And if those stories were not being told and justice wasn't being served, I would be concerned, right? Yeah, yeah. And I think that what was in the best interest for us in terms of national security, in terms of it, because people got to wonder how the powers that be have let this go. Well, you got to remember the powers that be are the billionaires. So this is what happened when you said the country should be run like a business. So this is to all of the people that ever said this is that a company should be run like a business. Oh yeah? Oh yeah. Do you know how companies are run? Small companies are nepotism pots. Big companies are sexual favors pots. So with the small companies, who do you know is going to determine how far you can go? Mhm. And there's a reason that we need a new political party, we need a new idea on politics, we need a workers' party. Is because we used to have a party for the lords and a party for the laborers, the regular people. So that when there's a liberal or left leaning majority, there cannot be the centrist. The we can't hold these people accountable because when they get back in power, blah blah blah. No, we're not helping rebuild the Republican Party. We're not doing that. I'm not participating in that. I'm not rehabilitating that. We need, and again, I'm not making this about me. I'm making it about organization. You need someone that is very public facing, that sits down every day, can talk about what is actually happening, that the people that aren't tied to me, right, that are voting for the candidates that we support, they can actually have someone that's alive during their life. That guy started a political party, has an actual platform, has people that are part of that platform that run for public office that speak truth to power and hold people accountable. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't, we're not going to get any of it. We're just going to get less of the fascism. So imagine none of the fuck shit, but none of the good stuff. That's not great. God damn it. The U.S. attorney under pressure to charge Letitia James in a mortgage fraud case has resigned. Rather than, so that means she's gonna sue. Donald Trump's persistence when it comes to Letitia James reminds me of the um, Central Park Five, where he's honed in on Lisa Cook because she's a black woman, and he can't give up on her, just like he can't give up on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, because that means he's wrong. Mhm. Poland has this came in an hour and a half ago. Hey, look at us being super timely. Poland has scrambled jets as Russia launches massive aerial assault on Ukraine. Friday. Zelensky said he will meet with U.S. President Donald Trump at the UN General Assembly meeting in New York next week and would assess early Saturday. Yeah, yeah, Poland has the right to assist. So remember this. One of the last jobs I worked in security before I retired. So think about my life has been a video game. So one of my last jobs. How much does Mr. Fall Apart when Trump's no longer in a game? Completely squint. It's a fucking shit show. Get your fucking popcorn. You're gonna watch the island of fucking misfit toys try to manage a government and fucking suck ass. They're gonna be terrible. Okay. So one of my last jobs in security. Okay. First of all, they paid the contract in full upfront, plus a tip, and I think they gave us a Christmas gift. I'm the security guard. I got paid before I did the job in full, plus a tip and a Christmas gift, and went to the richest person in Indiana's house up northwest of Westfield. Okay, a fucking mansion in the woods. Hmm. Okay. The guy had like four brand new Mercedes and like different ones. That's what kind of money we're on, right? Like four different color black Mercedes, from the truck to the SUV to the fucking wagon to the fucking, right. Uh, the I'll never forget the biggest Christmas tree you've ever seen in your life. A Christmas tree. It looked like a big fat Christmas tree fell over, and they just cut the bottom off and said, "Fuck it, put some gifts around there and decorate this shit." That's how big this fucking tree was. Like, it probably had a 15 to 18-foot base, like all spread out. Anyway, like a chandelier in the foyer, spiral staircase, dual spiraling staircases up to a landing where, you know, there's fucking triple upstairs wing, full indoor gym, full indoor pool, two kitchens, a full basement, movie theater. Guy's money coming out of his fucking eyeballs. Okay? Like, I can no longer. I'm out of shit. He had art on the wall behind plexiglass. Oh, such and such from a museum. And you find out what he does, and okay, that makes sense. He's just a rich. He's a he's like an FA, financial advisor. J.P. Morgan, Stanley Chase, or some shit, right? And he is bragging about all kind of shit, right? Bragging about all kind of shit. This motherfucker's made so much money it'd make you nervous. And he also disclosed that he is like one of the biggest K2 distributors in the United States, to the tune of like tens of millions of dollars of a designer drug. If you don't know what K2 is, me neither. But he actually was like more proud of what he was getting away with illegally than what is his education and his day job had afforded him a lifestyle unlike anyone I've ever known. Was dumb rich. And also like got into drug trafficking because for the lulls. That's what in my eyes, that's what rich people are like. Is that they get like bored with success. Doing it the right way, and having a normal functioning business is disinteresting. So here's a Chinese executive jailed. By the way, another CEO jailed for 25 years. Sorry for sharing the same story twice. And remember, all of this to prevent the Epstein list from coming out. That's what's happening here. Full stop. Yeah, I hope the Republican Party is no more. I mean, there's a reason that I'm like, we have to found the American Socialist Party. There are way too many people that would never become Democrats. And if the Republican Party, and again, think of the picture I'm painting. If the Republican Party fails, and then there's Democrats, who's gonna be for the LGBTQIA plus? It ain't Democrats. Who's gonna be for workers' rights? Not Democrats. Democrats have been in power. Where's the federal minimum wage gone? Nowhere, right? They want something to do to say fuck with people's lives. Yeah. Well, Here's the main problem with billionaires. Billionaires see their wealth hoarding as a competition that they're winning. So their ability to amass wealth and someone starving to death, it's not Larry Ellison's fault that 300,000 people are going to starve to death this week. It is Larry Ellison's fault. You know, one of the things that is a lie that you get taught is the fallacy of scarcity. What we get sold in high school, especially, is got to get good test scores because there's only so much space. Oh, they'll only accept you if you have this GPA, if you have this SAT, this ACT. If you also have to have involvement in an organization outside of sports. They got to fuck it up for everybody else. Yeah, yeah, yep. Oh, I. When did you know we were fucked, Jared? When the Indian billionaires started creating rain clouds, that's when I knew we were fucked. I was like, oh yeah, we're all gonna die. Cause like, billionaires do whatever the fuck they want. You know what I mean? They literally change the weather and get away with it. They'll turn the desert into a. I want to see what the killer looked like in Pennsylvania. I'm sure it's a white boy. Didn't he have one of those white boy names like Matthew David Ryan something? Matthew James Ruth. How close I get? Oh, by the way, AR-15 style weapon. I didn't know that this happened, but the Army says that 4 soldiers died in a helicopter crash in Washington State this week. Elite team that does nighttime missions died. Angie said, "Did you know the rapture will be tomorrow? Will it be televised? I did not know that the rapture is tomorrow. I thought people were saying the world's going to end on the 24th. I think the grid's going to go out. Yeah. I think about what would Donald Trump do to keep uh, the Epstein files from becoming public information. I think there's a special election on the 23rd. We looked up the rules. The results of a special election come in. The person takes the job the next day. Sorry for almost being a sexist. I almost said the guy, and I don't even know if it's a guy running. That makes me sexist as fuck, Jared. Jesus Christ. Oh, there's an eclipse tomorrow, and it's Charlie Kirk's funeral. Remember, control what you can control. Here's the BBC article about Estonia, about Russian aircraft violating Estonian airspace and all that shit. A lot going on in the world, man. And remember, there's a reason we called it Justice's Waiting Room, and that is because you cannot outrun the hands of justice. That bitch doesn't give a shit. Bob said Armageddon, Armageddon. Yeah, Yep, that's what they're preaching. They're preaching the end of the world. And all I'm saying, as someone that's done the fucking math, no, it's actually going to take like a lot longer than that. And so you might want to hold your cards there. All these billionaires that are trying to jam AI down our throat and say it's the end of the fucking world, they're on drugs. They're hardcore drug addicts. It's going to be really hard to deal with them. We do, we don't treat people with hardcore drug issues, not in this country. But they shouldn't be in fucking charge. Batman the Bold would say that you can't outrun justice. You might be able to evade her. So remember, in case you didn't remember, I went to college to become an astronaut and or fighter pilot and air traffic controller, whatever. So a lot of the time we're going to talk about flight related stuff because I think it's all connected. Here's a story from CNN about flights resuming after radar and communication outages hit air traffic controllers in Dallas, Texas. Um, yep, yep. I learned about the effects of smoke damage when I was in college the last time. Project Esther Part 2, they're sacrificing more red heifers. Jesus. I don't know if I've said this before, but make sure we say this. So remember, there are warring religious factions in play in the world. I think there's four. There's the Christians, there's the Jews, there's the Muslims, right? Christians. I can't remember what the big four are. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not that into world religion by number, but what are like the four most common religions? Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Okay. In this scenario, it's the Jews and the Christians versus the Hindus and the Buddhists effectively. Okay? Here's the issue that we're running up against. Okay? The issue that we're running up against is that the Christians already have their Messiah. So they just want the end of the world. The Jews are looking for their Messiah. And so they want the end of the world. And they're on the same team, effectively. The U.S. and Israel are effectively Jews and Christians. And so when you wonder, like, where did the end of the world, the rapture, blah, 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 or where did that come from? Christianity and fucking Judaism. Because they both ultimately want the rapture. One, because they already have their Jesus, and the other is seeking their Jesus. And the rapture has to happen for a savior to be born. Uh-huh. Again, what would be considered warring ideologies are on the same team, and they're pretty white, and they think that the other religions are. If I remember correctly, somebody tried to tell me, and I would like to be corrected when I'm wrong. I want to say they made the Buddhists Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Hmm? The Hindus and the Buddhists were made to be like lesser ideologies, just so you understand it. Like there was these are simpler, lesser ideologies, and that all that really matters is Christianity, um, Judaism and Islam. Hinduism is an umbrella term, by the way, for a range of Indian religious and spiritual traditions. So we got to be careful when we are talking about religions because you don't really want to offend people for no reason. Buddhism, also known as Buddha Dharma and Dharma Vinaya, is an Indian religion and philosophy based on the teachings attributed to the Buddha. And the Buddha was a wandering teacher. Mm-hmm. So, 6th or 5th century BCE. So, Buddhism, predates Jesus by about 30 years. 5 or 6 BC, before Christ, before Christ was born. Remember, Christ died 36 AD. Hindu's the oldest. Yeah. And Hinduism is, again, a range of religious teachings. Hmm. Umbrella term for a range of Indian religious and spiritual traditions that are unified by adherence to the concept of Dharma. Does not have a single clear translation and conveys a multifaceted idea. Well, that's going to be real complicated for normal people, white people. Etymologically, it comes from the Sanskrit meaning to hold or to support, thus referring to the law that sustains things. Dharma refers to an individual's moral responsibilities or duties. The Dharma of a farmer differs from the Dharma of a soldier. I can get on that. Anyway, what I was is I guess is Judaism under Christianity or something? Separated from Judaism. So what's Judaism? Abraham was religion. So is it not a big religion? 14.8 million. Oh, so if you ever wondered numbers, numbers. If you ever wondered why people hate Jewish people so much, because there's not very many of them. You want to do some math? I love mathematics. It makes things so much easier to understand. So there are, according to Jews, that's funny, 15.2 million. Okay? Compared to how many Christians are there? 2.3 billion. So if you ever wondered why people spread so much hate about the Jewish people, it's a small, very small portion of the people on earth. Hmm. And just like trans people, who make up the smallest population group because they're one of the newest ones, it's just because they're simpletons. Donald Trump's a bully. There's a reason he went after, like, what was it, 300, right when he got into power. He kidnapped and trafficked all those people out west. There's like 300, I think they were Venezuelans, right? They make up the smallest population group of that type immigrants, and he expected the least backlash. There's not strength in numbers. So if you ever in your brain you're like, why they always fuck with Jews and the trans people and fucking immigrants? They're the smallest population groups. They expect the least amount of resistance because they don't have strength in numbers. Hmm. He's a bully. Hmm. I grew up with a bully. Hmm. You learn how they move and what they're attracted to, right? Fortunately, the bullies are never the smartest person in the room. Yeah. So, and remember, it's all about the money. So the reason these people are like so violent is because they're just invested in the military industrial complex. Oh, also, Donald Trump, the president, warring against your free speech. Critical television coverage of him is illegal. When 97% of the stories are bad about a person, it's no longer free speech. Hmm. What I hope happens to all these people that Donald Trump's trying to get fired, I hope they just branch out on their own. You know what I mean? I hope instead of getting fired from The View, they just start up their own show, launch their own YouTube channel, hmm handle all their own shit. They could do it. There would be a lag in the amount of money they're making, but they're making so fucking money. So much fucking money, sorry. AOC plotting a run for president in 2028. Here you go. Right here. This, I think, is probably the story of the weekend, in my opinion. It came out 4:30 yesterday that AOC is plotting a run for president. She's embarked on a nationwide tour with Vermont's independent Senator Bernie Sanders, held town halls outside of her district in upstate New York, and raised $15 million. Yeah. She hasn't made a final decision. Yo, did you guys hear that people were leaving Disney so fast yesterday that the cancel subscription page stopped working? That you couldn't even quit them fast enough. Jesus Christ. Yeah, to be Zeke, by the way, I didn't actually know there were that few Jewish people compared to that many Christians, and it completely makes sense why there's so much anti-Semitism is because there's so few Jewish people that, and again, I sound fucking ignorant, but let me get my goddamn point out before you get out the pitchforks. Most people, white people, are not going to be in proximity to a Jewish person. And I realize how fucking lucky I am. Oh shit, when I was in fucking kindergarten, my first male friend, his name was Patrick Vanish. He was a Jewish boy. And my mom um, found Mrs. Webster, who was also Jewish. And I spent Sundays with the Websters because their son has like gone to college, and they like make lunch and we'd have lunch and he'd show me their garden and stuff. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. When they tell me free speech isn't free, I say fuck you. We have You are now going to have a problem when you tell me I don't have free speech anymore. Free speech ain't free if it's me and about me. Um, Talk about a fucking snowflake. By the way, a bunch of motherfuckers that called other people snowflake. Jesus fucking Christ. A middle school student was arrested in an alleged sextortion scheme with hundreds of potential victims. Remember, this happened during Donald Trump's presidency. Again, this happened during Donald Trump's presidency. A Utah trucker, Snowflake Dead Hand. Hey, Bob, what if he's trying to cover up the dead hand because he's got a snowflake tattoo? A Utah trucker was arrested after teens were found in his 29-degree refrigerated trailer. Two young girls survived a 2-hour journey. Jesus. Happened during Trump's presidency. In Jessup, Iowa, the Jessup Police Department has issued a statement regarding harassments that result from TPing activities. So, for those of you that toilet papered your enemies' houses when you were kids, or your friends, you TP your friends' houses. In Jessup, Iowa, that's now illegal. And it will result in criminal charges, including community service. Oh wow, Brett James, the Grammy winning Jesus Take the Wheel songwriter, died in a North Carolina plane crash. Wow. So much for that shit, huh? Yo! Let's go! I knew all my teachers are rowdy as hell. They made TPing illegal. Are you gonna get fucking community service for TPing motherfuckers? Oh shit. Yeah. The guy that the irony of the guy that wrote Jesus Take the Wheel dying in a vehicle crash, right? Is fucking absurd, right? It's like a little too on the nose. You know what I mean? How the fuck you gonna write a song called Jesus Take the Wheel and you're not a pilot? Man. By the way, in light of all the memes that are saying I am Charlie Kirk, uh, I've never thought that people of color had less brain processing power because I'm not Charlie Kirk. I'm not delusional enough to think that gang activity committed by people of color is equal to mass shootings, which are mostly committed by white people. So I am not Charlie Kirk. I do not think that you being trans is a mental disorder. I am not Charlie Kirk. I do not think that people that call themselves LGBTQIA+, I do not think those people are lesser beings. I am not Charlie Kirk. And ultimately, I didn't get my head blown off saying some fuck shit. I am not Charlie Kirk. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. In light of all the I am Charlie Kirk, yeah, I am fucking not him. And again, tough guys, right? They've increased their security since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Like Mike Johnson has increased his security. They think they're next. Did we talk about this on this show? Where I said I thought I read somewhere that it was the Russian, it's totally Russian to kill off right wing mouthpieces uh, because it further enrages the right against the left. And that all you have to do is suggest in the wake of a mass shooting is just suggest that it was anyone other than a white person, and you will also get violence as a result. You'll get additional mass shootings. Hmm. Yep. More security for them. Yep. I can promise you the people that they'll target are the people that don't have that good of security. Mm-mm. Yep. And by the way, I love watching other people come to the realization that we've already arrived at, where we're like, I'm pretty positive Tyler Robinson did not shoot Charlie Kirk. I'm pretty sure Charlie Kirk was shot from within 50 feet from someone that was not part of the audience or part of the crowd. It appeared to come from his own flank, which is important. It's important to say it wasn't someone out in front of him in the audience. It wasn't somebody he could look out and see. They were beyond his peripheral. He could not see them. And in my eyes, and again, this is my personal opinion, if I'm a public speaker, right, I don't want people that aren't on my team behind me. You get what I'm saying? If you aren't like hardcore, I don't want you standing behind me while I talk. Those are the people that stab you in the back. The fuck are you talking about? I've read books. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want anybody behind me that's not loyalist, right? Holy shit, we live in that era, right? Where the political violence era, right? Like, if I'm going out, I want you shooting at me from the front. You know what I'm saying? I want you to come at me at the front. Two stadiums. I hope nobody shows, bro. I hope. I mean, you know the media is going to douse it in coverage. This is all a distraction from the Epstein files. Yep. Political violence, yeah. Here's the Trump administration planning A massive weapons sale to Israel. $6.4 billion. Estonia asks NATO to activate Article 4. This came out last night, 11/16. This is new. Poland was the country before. I don't know what the Korean model is, okay, but I'm going to read it. I don't know what a Korean approach is. Oh, let's read it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukraine needs security guarantees before the war ends, but is not considering a Korean approach or any other model for ending the war. He said, "They may speak rhetorically about one scenario or another, but our situation is definitely different from one in Korea. There, the war ended without a final peace treaty. That is what they meant. And this relates to the discussion about security guarantees, why Ukraine needs them. It may happen that there will be no final document to end the war." People are fleeing the United States in droves to Canada. I didn't realize that Charlie Kirk and George Floyd share a birthday. How ironic. I need some George Floyd in memoriam gear. You know what I will remember about Charlie Kirk is I will remember him arguing about the death of George Floyd. And I remember how he argued that George Floyd died of a drug overdose and he didn't die from Derek Chauvin kneeling on his neck for 9 minutes. And I maintain, as a court did, that Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd. And given their prior interactions, the fact that George Floyd and Derek Chauvin knew who each other were, a court said the same thing. Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd, and to say anything else is doing a disservice to your eyeballs. Your eyeballs know that that shit was wrong. It's the same thing, and again, I don't. Again, I think I've said this before on our show here. This all changed with the Rodney King beating. I'm telling you, life was precious. I'm telling you, and the violence that happened, the L.A. riots, the Rodney King beating, the violence that kind of was birthed out of that. A lot of people will say, like, how could you not support Israel? How could you support Iran? They punish people for being gay in Iran, and they do. They do. 100 lashes. Okay, 100 lashes, 2 years of exile for having sexual relations with another man. Now, uh, as a straight man, it's not usually couth to make gay jokes, but as someone that's been friends with gay men, 100 lashes sounds kinky, and 2 years of exile don't sound too bad. That's actually kind of normal for what happens when you come out to your family. That was a gay joke. Because I have friends that are gay that violence is kind of their thing, and 2 years of exile. Oh, you mean like coming out to my parents? The U.S. wasn't a third world country before this. Second round of Trump is going to be very soon with the talent of people we're losing now. But yeah, yeah. The UN General Assembly had to vote to allow the Palestinian leader to address the General Assembly by video. So not only they also had to get permission. Engineers, educators, doctors, nurses, writers, builders, hospitality, most importantly, farm workers. Yeah. I have a couple friends from back in the day that were nursing students that are travel nurses now. That all of them, and I know like a lot of them, are living abroad, hmm or in Canada, or in Mexico, hmm because of how toxic an environment the American healthcare system is. Yep, doctors, nurses. Oh yeah. All can I say is we're gonna have a lot to talk about during holiday gatherings. Yeah. To be honest with you, I will probably work on the holidays unless my wife says no, because the way my job works is that for a lot of these holidays, if it's your regularly scheduled day, you just got to work. They'll pay you time and a half. They'll give you a day off to replace that day off. But yeah, for like Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's a voluntary holiday. We're open 365 days a year. See, I don't think that it is. See, I think like Jimmy Kimmel getting suspended. He already filed a lawsuit the next day, right? You have to understand, if the president of the United States is using his power to silence his political opponents, that's a violation of the First Amendment. You get a fucking lawyer, file a fucking lawsuit. He'll lose. And remember, every time he does some fuck shit and somebody sues his ass, he's opening himself up to litigation. He's opening himself up to discovery. And there's going to be a lot of information that, mhm, yeah, you got to organize, build a community. There's too many people fleeing when you should be building a community, right? It is natural, though, for people to run away. And I have said, that is the impetus. You're gonna end up running. Might as well start now. I agree with Ted Cruz. What is going on? I'm in the upside down. MAGA will regret what it did to Jimmy Kimmel. Hmm. Agree. Big mistake. And yes, I saw 95 Democrats voted to memorialize Charlie Kirk. You got to remember, there's a lot of potential violence out there. These politicians are their lives are in danger. Hmm. Barack Obama, he's getting gassed up. I'm thinking if Donald Trump tries to run for a third term, Barack Obama will too, and Barack Obama will trounce Donald Trump because Barack Obama's wildly popular and Donald Trump's not. And yeah, I also saw the video of Cat Abigazela getting thrown to the ground. I saw that too. Yep. Can't lie, we have to put things in motion to flee if things get worse. Yeah. My husband and I are in our late 50s with health issues and a daughter whose safety is paramount for us. Um, yeah, I just can't imagine having like health issues and kids and stuff during all this. I could see not wanting to raise your kids in this, and I could see needing to get yourself into a position where your healthcare costs aren't going to cripple you. Because that's what the unfortunate thing about this bitch is. You got two choices: be healthy or get have free healthcare. One or the other, or both. You probably need both. You need good health and you need good healthcare. Mm-hmm. So yeah, about 90 minutes in. Appreciate you all. Here, I forgot to share the opening song this morning. A little bit of war, a little bit of eat the rich, a little bit of weather, and we'll get out of here. Have a good weekend. Loving an elevator, giving it up while you're going down. Loving an elevator. Right. My wife said in the comments, I am thankful every day that you have not forced me into having kids. Can you imagine? I'm just thinking about like the increase in the cost of food, the increase in the cost of fuel, the increase in cost of things like diapers and fucking formula and baby food, right? That's just young kids. Think about like feeding growing people that are no longer formulaic they're no long, you know what I'm saying? They're no longer eating formula and baby food and that shit and diapers, and they don't need that anymore. And now they're eating adult food, and food costs like 4 times as much. And again, I want to continue to point this out. So I've been having the conversation about how are you fucking feeding yourself for years, for years, and have been like my eyes glazing over at motherfuckers lying to themselves about how much they spend on fucking food. I'm telling you, in effort to cut costs, my wife in the fucking comments can tell you our base cost for food is 640. That's just factor meals. That doesn't count any other food that we buy. Right? I think cuz it's like 160 a week, right? 160 by 4, 320, 640 per month. That's just for lunches. And we order some extra shit. Like they have these little I mean, it's kind of an odd situation. The cinnamon horchata I could like do with another flavor, but it's such an odd flavor. But yeah, baby food is the biggest scam. I have no fucking idea. So think about that. Every I've been hollering through the wall at Jared. I forgot that there's a chat. You're funny, Taylor. But yeah, I just can't imagine trying to feed like 4 plus adult peoples, or not even adults, but like normally eating people. The toddlers have the healthiest snacks. Yeah. If you ever want to not die from a hangover, the fucking little kids got Pedialyte, and that might be. I guarantee you, Pedialyte has saved more adults than it has helped kids grow. That's what you know. What I'm saying. Anyway, let's look at the weather before we get the fuck out of here. Okay. God, please let the weather be good today. But baby food is unseasoned, boiled, regular food. Oh God. Unseasoned, boiled. Taylor, that sounds like when we went to Florida, that hotel we stayed at. All the food was ass. It was like unseasoned. It had been like superheated to destroy all the bacteria. A little bit of, oh, there we go. Okay, so it looks like there is, obviously, if you live in the western part of the United States, your shit is on fire. Dead ass. There's just a fire risk. Mostly Washington State, western Montana, northern Idaho. Okay? It looks like western Texas has a storm system. There is another storm system near the 4 state kind of border: Kansas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. So down there, southwest Missouri, Bob, looks like there's a storm system. And then also northern Missouri, southern Iowa, western Illinois, and then again up the Dakotas, Minnesota. There's a just a patchy rain. And then I also want to point out in the northeast part of the United States, that looks like freeze watch. So up northern, that's New York, Jared. Northern New York, Vermont, Massachusetts are under like a freeze warning. So there's moisture in the Gulf of Mexico, moisture off the eastern seaboard, and again we always joke about how the fuck does how does moisture off the eastern seaboard interact with the eastern seaboard? I don't fucking know. I was raised storms travel west to east, and other than that, so Have a good day. Stay safe out there. Make good decisions.